Hey everybody, DeathsStalker here. So, much to my surprise today, our postman brought my long-awaited air filters. You know, I realize with the COVID thing, everything's taking a lot longer than normal. Anyways, so now I'm going to show you how to install the factory Honda air filter replacements. So the first thing I have to do is take the seat off, because we have to be able to tilt the tank up. Now the nice thing about the RC51 is the rear seat, you don't actually need a key to take it off. Okay, with the bolts out, the seat you just push back gently and it's off. Now just for the record, this is a Sergeant seat, very similar to a Corbin, very comfortable. Okay, to be able to tilt the tank, you actually have to remove the rear seat unit, which is just, it's got two of these bolts on each side that you loosen off. And there may or may not be two bolts or clip pins under the seat here. It sort of depends on what you have for an aftermarket tailpiece. You're also going to have to take off the seat unit cover, or what I like to call the trunk, because that's actually latched in by a key, and you're not able to get this off until you get that out of the way. So you just take your key and pop it out. So now the seat unit just comes off like that's the seat cover off. So the next thing I have to do is I have to remove the mirrors and the front stay, because this fuel tank actually has to be tilted up to get access to the air cleaners. Okay, so these are just little 5mm bolts, and I have aftermarket mirrors on my bike, but they bolt on and off just like the factories. Plastic protectors come off, and then what you do is you just make sure you put them someplace where they won't get dropped and broken or scratched. So the front of this stay is held on by these two bolts. So we'll take those bolts off, and once those are done, we can actually lift the tank. So now you can tilt the tank up. And you can actually, they recommend removing it, but to change the air filters, you don't really have to. If you have a couple compact screwdrivers, you can actually get into the cover to access the bolts. I'm using my trusty soft blow hammer to hold this up, since it won't mar anything, and just high enough that leaves you room here to work without actually having to remove the fuel tank. So you have 7 Phillips head screws that are holding the plastic cover down for the airbox. So we just have to loosen them off, and then we can take the cover off and change the air filters. The trick is having a screwdriver that is small enough to be able to get in here and still be good enough and sharp enough to get its jaws into the screw heads without stripping them. Generally it's plastic, so you don't really want to over torque stuff, but you do want to make sure your screwdriver has good sharp connections in there. Now you would think under the gas tank you wouldn't have as much room, but you can actually see that there is over an inch and a half of clearance because there's a giant void on this gas tank, which is actually the space where the airbox normally go when the gas tank's lower. Oh, actually, there we go. Just lift it off. So actually, I don't actually have to disconnect this thing. I can just sort of let it sit out of the way. Okay, changing the air filters is pretty simple. There's just a couple screws back here. The only thing you have to remember is that they have different part numbers, so it's always make certain you always put them on the correct side. And to get this out, you just right down here is the screw, and again it's a Phillips head. So all you do is you just get your screwdriver in here and you back it off. It does take quite a few turns to get this thing off, but you'll know right away because you'll hear it rattling like that, and that tells you that this thing is now loose and can be removed. And you just lift it. And there we go. And surprisingly, the air filter doesn't look that bad inside, but I know it's been in for at least a couple seasons. And it's been down a few gravel roads by accident, so we'll swap it out. But because I got the first one off, I'm going to take the second one off now at the same time because it just will make it easier. Now, Honda says these are not cleanable. Like if you buy an aftermarket air filter like a K&N, which they have an oil you put on the filter to have it collect the dust, but then it can be washed and reused. These are a paper filter, and they have like a glue sprayed on them that they basically means they can't be cleaned. Okay, and that one comes off. So we're going to put the right one in first. So when you put this in, you have to push it firmly and then make sure the bottom part is down so it actually hooks up into threads. The top of this air filter should be just a hair under the top of this lip for the airbox. And the second one, and again, you just sort of hold it kind of firmly. Okay, so there you have it. These are now tightened in, and everything's all ready to go for reassembly. So basically, it's just a reverse of what we just did. Now, the important thing is to make certain that you didn't have any material, like if dust or whatnot is flying around the air, you want to make certain you had this protected so that you wouldn't get issues with now it's just a case of tightening all back down. Okay, so there you have it. This has all been tightened down again, and it's important to make certain that all the corners of the airbox are actually sealed and sitting flat in the grooves. So that is it for that. Now it's a case of just the reverse order. Lower the gas tank, bolt it down, put the seat cowl back on. Okay, so the air filter change has been done. The bike's all buttoned up and ready to go back on the road. Now I just thought I'd show you the differences here. This one right here is the left-hand air filter. You can see it's black. The right-hand air filter is silver. And the differences on the intake is there's actually some sort of a restrictor for the air intake. So that probably has something to do with the V-twin configuration. And they are a little fiddly to get in, especially to get the anchor bolt in, but they can be installed. Like I say, it's like I showed you here. You don't actually have to remove the gas tank to do it. It would make it easier because it wouldn't be in the way, but you can work around it if you have the proper tools. So that's one less job to do. I'm still waiting for a couple more parts for another job, but so I'm not waiting for the other stuff to come in. I'm just going to get the bike all ready to go for a ride. Not today. If you can hear the bells and the wind and whatnot, we have a storm coming in again. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I'll answer them if I can. DeathsStalker signing off.